things typically work is with our guys, man, as salespeople, they catch them sporadically. So usually by the end of the deal, we'll have 5,000 or 6,000 views. So for those of you that are just now chiming in, help us share this so that we get 10 or 15,000. Let's just be an overachiever. You know, Facebook trying to hold us down, trying to keep people from seeing this valuable content.
We're going to be dropping bombs right now.
We're going to bring some good stuff. So let me give you a little background of what we're about to do. I've built the Break Free Academy and Hardcore Closer brands, which obviously we're watching the live stream on this page from Hardcore Closer, over the last 10 years. And I built them strategically in a way to attract good people like you to be able to help you enrich areas of your life from sales, marketing, and everything else. Well, because of that, I've thrown some pretty big events and done some pretty wild things in the business world. And a few months ago, my partner Josh King Madrid and I, we threw an event called M3. It was based on the name of my book, The Media Marketing Method, which, by the way, shameless plug, go get it on Amazon. It's fucking awesome. I hear the author is an amazing dude. And anyway, I have this event, and we throw it together in 35 days. We get about 700 people there, and it's become a 7-figure event, and we get some amazing speakers between the folks that Josh knows and I know. We have some great people there. Well, some of the speakers I did not know, but I got to participate and watch while being there at the event. And I met this gentleman here, Mark Lack. And, you know, sometimes as a sales guy, you know, like you see somebody on stage, and especially if you've been doing this for a long time, I've been at this for 10 years, that's kind of a long time. Because most people don't stay in a career or fucking consistent on anything.
What is the stat? 98% of companies fail in 10 years?
Yeah, some shit.
So,
like
whatever the stat is.
You know what? You know how you don't fail when failure's not an option, really.
There it is.
And so I got to see Mark's presentation, and when he was up there, dude, when you were up there, I was like, man, this guy, he's refined. He's a professional at this shit. He's not just somebody who... Because like at these events, you have two kinds of people. You have a professional like us that's on stage, that's been taught and knows the system and is a speaker by trade, right? And then you've got the other folks up there who are just good at business that are just willing to get up there and share their story. Like at the event that we did just a few weeks ago, my friend Dustin Black, he's anything but a public speaker, but he has a very, very, very successful company. So I'm like, get the fuck up there and talk. And he did a great job, you know? And so, but the professionals recognize the professionals. So when I seen Mark, I actually ended up watching his whole presentation, and I thought it was pretty awesome because he was talking about branding. And I've been saying this for forever, man. If you build the brand with the right foundation, you'll attract the people that you want to do business with anyway. If you build the wrong brand, you'll constantly run that cycle of hating your prospects and struggling with fulfillment and everything else. So Mark actually flew out here from California. He should be on his honeymoon, but he's here with us in Closer Nation and with you guys. So I figured while we have him in the office, we might as well go live and share some of his knowledge with you. So Mark, if you would, first of all, thanks for coming out here.
Of course, bro. Of course.
But if you would, I know you used to be a sales guy. We were just talking about that before we went on the air. So just kind of give them that story real quick to catch them up to speed.
Yeah, so I always wanted to have an endless earning potential. I'm sure everybody watching this is in the same boat, or you don't really get into sales, right? You want to be able to make money. You want to be able to do whatever the fuck you want. We can cuss on this, obviously, right? It's his show. Obviously, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody wants to be able to do what they want when they get into sales. That's why you get into it. You can kind of make your own schedule. You can earn however much money you want. So that's what attracted me to the sales industry. I read all the books. I went to all the seminars. I did everything that many of you probably have. And then I started to realize, as I was selling a ton of stuff and I was selling millions of dollars of other people's things, nothing wrong with that. That's usually what happens when you start in sales. And I said, damn, I want to be my own boss. But what happens is you start to need leads. And a lot of the times you need to get into marketing to generate leads so that you can sell more people. So I really started to dive into marketing, got into social media, got into personal branding, because people don't go on social media to engage with business brands, they go on there to engage with people. So personal branding is the secret to online success with social media. So I started to really get into this landscape, realized that there was a big opportunity in the marketplace to not only build my own personal brand, like many of you should be doing, but also to teach people how to do this, because when I looked at all the people making money online, yes, they were usually pretty good at marketing and sales, maybe, but the one thing that they all had in common was they all had badass personal brands, which is what you've been doing, which is why you build content and you build a show and you give people value without them asking for anything. And that's one of the things that makes a good salesperson. They're not selling, they're adding value, consultative selling. I'm literally going to give you value, unbiased, to make a good decision. Hopefully that decision ends up being to work with us. And that's what building a personal brand is. So we're going to talk about some really good shit today. And it's going to tie back to a lot of the stuff you're probably already doing as a salesperson. This is why I love working with salespeople, because they understand human psychology. Now, all we're going to do today is talk about how to take what you know as a great salesperson and how to massively reach thousands, even millions of people online on autopilot using algorithms and social media and all this other shit. And I'm not a tech person, by the way. I'm not tech savvy. All you need is the cell phone in your pocket with the stuff that I'll teach you guys to do today. And you can literally learn how to either generate a lot more leads, generate a lot more impact, and as a byproduct of that, make a lot more money. And that's what I'm excited to talk about with you guys today.
So let me ask you guys this, right? Or let me drop this on you, and then I'm just gonna like punt this over to Mark here. But if you have prospects that you don't like, let's say that you're in the mortgage business, and your prospects keep showing up with bad credit, and you can't get a loan for any of them. Let's say that you're a real estate agent, and your prospects keep showing up, and they don't have any money down, and you keep running into this problem over and over again. That's your brand. That's what your brand is attracting. That's what you're putting out into the marketplace. You know, so many people, they think they have this like distinguished upscale brand. They think they're Louis Vuitton when really what they are is the old brown Walmart sack. You know, when it comes to their brand, like they think they're Louis Vuitton, but the truth is the public thinks you're that brown Walmart sack. And brown Walmart sacks are quite durable, by the way.
They are.
You know, if you get them wet and then dry them back, they're twice as strong. Little unknown fact there for most people.
He's got stock in that company.
I do. I should go up now. So, but here's the thing. It's branding. The people that you attract, if you don't like them, it's because you're branding that, and that's what you're branded that way. I remember I worked for a bank one time, and they were complaining that all the customers that came in were bad credit people. And I was like, dude, for the last 4 years, you've been running subprime mortgage ads. Like, what do you expect? It's going to take a minute to clean that up. That's the other thing. If you want to get rid of those shitty prospects, you want to change your brand to where it attracts better people, it takes a while to change that. I mean, if you just think about the hardcore closer brand, 2 years ago, it was cussing people out and angry all the time and shit like that. And I realized that in order for me to go to the next level, I had to make some changes in my brand. Now we have a whole different quality of clientele and a whole different quality of consumer and everything else because of the changes I did in the way that my brand was positioned.
And I think what most people make the mistake of is they're afraid of how long it's going to take, and so they're like we were just talking about this, about saying sometimes your sales have to go down a little bit so that they can quadruple next year. And
we call that the fish hook.
The fish hook.
It goes like fish hook, like you start the little barb, it goes up, that quick spike, and then that slow but the other end's unlimited.
The other end's going to come back up higher. And so, you know, most people are afraid of building an online brand or building out a marketing campaign, something that's going to make you a lot more money maybe in the next few months or years ahead. But in reality, most people are stuck making the same money over and over again, or they get these little tiny spikes. But because they never built a legitimate brand, if we're both in business for 5 or 10 years and one of us built a brand, the other person's going to have shit. They're going to have nothing. They're going to have to keep making phone calls. They're going to have to keep working really hard. When the person who has a brand has an audience, has a list, has a community of people, has trust in the market, has influence. And that's something that you can either exit from, you can sell the brand, or you can do launches, promotions. You attract a much better partner, attract a much better customer and prospect. So we'll get into some of these things people can do. I mean, it's so easy, and that's what I'm excited to tell people about, is like, you only need a cell phone. It's not branding like Fortune 500s where you need millions or hundreds of millions.
Or the cover of Men's Health or Forbes or some shit like that, or Glamour or whatever. It's just, it's really, you know, to say an even, like branding's such a broad word, but it's really market positioning.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you're doing. You're positioning yourself in the marketplace to attract the people that you want to do business with. I'll give you a good example. 5 years ago, when I was exclusively working with loan officers, I had an offer that was in the marketplace. It was recorded cheaply. There, you could even hear, Mark, this is hilarious. We've come so far in the internet marketing world. Yeah. You could hear the garbage truck backing up in the video, right? And it was back in the day when you had to shoot it on one of those Kodak things, and I was almost out of disk space, so I couldn't afford to delete it anyway. So you can literally, in a Facebook ad that I ran, you could hear the garbage truck backing up, and Facebook land let me know in the comments. And
Oh, they always do.
They will let you.
They always have an opinion.
They will let you know. and so anyway, I kept getting all these applications to people that couldn't afford my program. And I'm like, damn, man, I'm getting a bunch of people that want this, but like nobody can afford it.
Which is what happens with so many people. Is
Yes,
like,
yeah.
all right, I'm getting attraction, but it's the wrong people.
And so a lot of people quit. They're like, well, shit, I guess everybody in this industry is poor, but not me. I knew that there was money. I was the banking industry. I knew there was money in it. They kind of control it, And so I went back in. I switched up my branding. Made a video somewhere else where I was inside instead of outside, and I wasn't on the...
No more trash men.
Yeah, exactly.
No more dumpsters.
Trash men, cleaned up. And I changed my offer, which is a big part of branding as well, I believe. I changed my offer. One thing that I was saying in the commercial was, if you're producing less than $2 million a month in mortgages, then we can help you. And what happens? Zero is less than 2 million, And so I didn't specify that you had to be doing like 1.5 or 1.
Yeah.
Like, so
you didn't give them a range.
A lot of the zeros were hitting us up, or the $500,000s were hitting, which aren't livable numbers in that industry. And so I made the tweak in the branding, the tweak in the video, and the tweak in the wording where I said, if you're doing $2 million and you want to do double that in the next 90 days, fill out this application. If you're not doing $2 million.
Which is such a tiny shift, but it's so massively different. 0 to 2 million versus 2 million and above.
And above, right. And so, because we disqualified all the zeros, that immediately takes the zeros out. And so what happened was we went from getting, let's say, 20 applications a day, and 2 could buy out of those 20, which was a nightmare because I'm trying to make 20 damn sales.
You're wasting your time talking to the wrong people.
Yeah. And don't even follow up because they ain't going to get any better because they couldn't afford my program to get better, right? But then guess what? Then we go to getting about 3 applications a day, but 2 still buy.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden I've got all this extra time, and we actually scaled it up. Was how we were able to afford this nice studio that we're in all these years later. But all in the branding. It's made the difference in me struggling in that business versus me being an 8-figure brand now.
Well, the funny thing about that is sales is just like what you said. Taking somebody who's garbage at sales, and I'm sure maybe you can even recall when you were getting started in sales and you didn't know how to overcome objections when somebody said the price, or when somebody said I need to talk to somebody. And all it is just learning.
Okay, get back to me.
Okay, I'll get back. And so, just like you said for branding and marketing, just getting better in sales is learning how to say the right words, say the right message.
Yep.
And when you overcome objections, you probably learned a couple little scripts that someone taught you in a book or at a seminar or something that you shared with them.
Overheard on a conversation from the manager or whatever.
And you can double your close rate, triple your close rate, which means your income's going to go through the roof just by learning how to say a different message. Overcome a specific objection. And I remember when I was struggling in sales and then making a lot more money in sales, I was the same person. I just changed the words that were coming out of my mouth. And that's all that marketing and branding is you just show up differently. It's still you. We're just going to change a couple little things, change the way that you communicate, and that's going to help your income dramatically. And I've found that sales is great. Being great at sales is amazing, but learning how to leverage the internet and social media and marketing and personal branding is going to get you better leads. It's going to let you to sell more products. It's going to help you sell higher end tickets and just make a lot more money. I mean, I don't get on the phone at all anymore. And my own company, I have a team now, and we get tons of inbound leads. We run ads. But we can dive in. I mean, you tell me, what do you think they need to know about marketing or social media, personal branding? What would help them the most?
Well, so I would say most of the folks that watch this page actually make good money. So let's assume that the average person watching this right now makes 6 figures a year. Lots of 7-figure producers per year income-wise. So many business owners as well. But I think the biggest deal is, so where does a person start and how do they decide what their brand needs to look like, right? So it's like, okay, I want to do a lot of business. Okay, so in this building, I don't know if you know this or not, but 1 floor above us is Google's headquarters, right?
Okay.
They're one of 5 locations where Google has a massive amount of employees. It's here in this building, right? We're going to hack YouTube one of these fucking days, right? We're going to pass Ty Lopez in YouTube views. We're going to I'm gonna bribe one of these folks.
That's
one
right.
Day, right? We're either gonna
Hack the algorithm.
we're gonna chloroform one in the elevator, or
Give some
something,
truth
right?
serum.
Yeah, some truth serum. Buy one too many drinks down at the bar downstairs. But we're gonna get them somehow. We're gonna get to the top. But another day. But so like if someone wants to, everybody wants to be YouTube and Google is what I'm getting at here, right? They say, oh, they've built a brand, they're their own word and all this other stuff. But really, first you need to build something probably in your local marketplace where you've got a brand in your local marketplace.
It's easier to be a big fish in a small pond.
Right. So talk to us. So if someone's like, okay, so how do I know if my brand sucks and what's the first step to making it good?
So the first thing is you already have a brand, but if you haven't consciously spent time controlling the perception, that's the number one thing.
I like that,
is
controlling the perception.
Controlling the perception. So how do you want to be perceived? Do you want to be like, you were using examples earlier, like Louis Vuitton and Gucci or Rolls Royce or Bentley.
Walmart paper bag.
It's like, the Walmart paper bag. It's like, the Bentley is still going to get you from point A to point B. So they're not selling you getting from point A to point B. They're selling you on status. They're selling you on luxury. Right. So do you want to have people perceive you that way? If so, then you just have logical things. You need to communicate and articulate more effectively. You need to dress a certain way. Just the standard stuff that a lot of people already know. So it's so easy. It's not difficult. It's having the sequential order. So the first thing is when you get started with this, you just have to understand what is the perception that I want to control. Do I want to be the guy with the backwards hat, like a Gary Vee? He wears the beanie. He wears the T-shirt. The guy's got a lot of money.
Always in Uber, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's his thing. He's always in the back of a car.
Never shows. He flies private, but never shows it.
Yeah,
so it's like
never shows you his house.
So he's got a lot of. Never shows his family. Yeah. So. He decided he wanted to show up a certain way. He wanted the millennials to look at him and be like, he's like us. He's got a beanie and a T-shirt and a backpack and drives in an Uber, but he makes $400 million a year with all of his companies and stuff. So it's like, he doesn't even talk about the numbers. He never talks about the money.
Right.
He just talks about just basic shit like we were talking about, like the cereal box, right? It's like, and so you just have to understand the perception you want. Tai Lopez chose to go with the luxury cars, the yachts, the helicopters, the jets, the girls.
The Amish farms.
Yeah. He's trying to find a little balance in there. So it's like,
I think he fired that brand guy.
He did. He fired that guy.
That's not a good brand. Back to Lamborghinis.
So there's a lot of people showing up differently on the internet. And in both of those examples, the guy who makes a ton of money but doesn't talk about money, doesn't show money, doesn't do any of that, and then the guy who makes a lot of money, shows a lot of money, all the things that money can buy. And so they're both successful, but they both chose, they both have really successful brands. They just both chose to show up differently. And so it's not that one is right, one is wrong. You have to figure out how you want to show up, because that's how you have to be consistent. You can't go from the guy in the suit and tie and the luxury and then all of a sudden start delivering crap and shit content. And so that's the first thing, is understanding that. And you can usually maybe find a middle ground, but it's better if you pick sides. Like, we've talked about this before, and you see some brands online. You're better off being loved and hated than trying to get everyone to like you.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of brands...
You need division anyway.
Yeah, they don't... A lot of people make the mistake when, I control my perception, and then how am I going to show up online? What is the content I'm going to create? What's the message I'm going to stand for? What's the theme that people are going to see from me? They try to be liked by everybody. And I think we all make this mistake when we get started. You try to get everyone to like you because, society...
I can give a fuck.
Yeah, well, he's learned. But it's like society teaches you that if you're not accepted, then you're not going to get hired. You're not going to be loved. I could go back into psychology of like lineage of like, when did this happen? Well, because if you were in the tribal period of time with Indians and shit and cowboys, like if you got kicked out of the tribe and you weren't accepted, you were going to die basically. You can't live on your own. And so we still think that we need to be accepted by people. Now, maybe not everybody on here, as a salesperson, I know, you're used to rejection. You're used to not being accepted. You're used to that. You're used to failure and rejection, and it's a positive. But with brands, a lot of the times, people try to be liked by everybody because they get that direct message in their inbox or they get that comment on their social media. I'm telling you, I've gotten, and I'm sure you have, like many people when they've been online for years. and you've got millions of views on your videos added up, it's like, wow, you get some hateful ass messages from people threatening you, telling
Some
you
of y'all are assholes.
there's some assholes out there on the internet, and you just have to know that the arrows are going to get shot at you. And when you are trying to be liked by everybody, you're still going to get the hateful comments and messages. So you might as well be 100% you. Now, maybe you're somebody that a lot of people like, but I guarantee you when you get on the internet, you're going to get some fucking haters. So you might as well stand for something strong. A great example is your brand. Another great example is like Sean Whalen. That motherfucker just shows up exactly the way that he wants people to know who he is.
That guy owes me $20. Fuck him.
Sean, if you're watching this.
Give my $20, Waylon.
So you've got to figure out how the perception is you want to be controlled, and then you've got to figure out how you're going to start showing up and what you're going to stand for. And what you're going to stand for is broken into 2 content categories. Number 1 is your niche. So if you're in mortgage, because you were using that as a theme, then your niche is going to be talking about mortgages and content all around that. What are all the questions your clients and prospects ask you before the sale, during the sale, after the sale? Create content about all of that. Create content about every type of prospect, create content about all the different interest rates in the current economy, create, for the first time buyers, the refinances, the investors, create content around all of that shit in your niche for mortgages. But if you only do that and you only have a personal brand and you only show up on the internet talking about mortgages, people are never going to go deep with you. Your best friend is probably not somebody that you only talk about mortgages with. It's probably the guy that you drink beers with on the weekend and watch the football game or go to church with or go on vacation with, or you all hang out and you talk about personal stuff. So a great personal relationship is the same as a great personal brand. You don't only talk about mortgages, you talk about other shit you care about. So if you're the mortgage guy or gal, you also talk about other stuff. If you like cars like he does, you post about cars and talk about that. If you like football or something, talk about that. If you like traveling, food, family time, God, you share that. And so I like to break it into a T-graph. One side you have your niche, mortgages in this example, and then you break the mortgages and shatter it into a million pieces. Talk about every little piece of thing about mortgages.
Yeah, and like what are things that go on inside the house once you buy it? Like
everything.
Christmas time,
everything.
Time,
yeah, everything.
Time, memories with your kids.
Sit down with a piece of paper and be like, okay, I don't need to get it.
The interest rate. Nobody gives a fuck about the interest rate or if it's low or any of that, right? What they care is about the memories and the neighbors and the things that are going to go on and the activities. Like this Saturday, there's a neighborhood gathering in my neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
So I'll get to meet some of my other neighbors, right? And we live in a nice neighborhood, so
yeah. You never know. Maybe there's some business there.
Yeah, everybody has to be successful to live there, and so that's the kind of things that you want to create that content around. And you could even create that content around yourself, telling the story from your neighborhood and stuff like that, because that's what really the social media is people are. It's a reality show that you're letting them in on the highlights of your life and all around.
Which is why you don't just talk about business, because people aren't going to tune in every day on social media if you're only talking about mortgages. But if your audience is people for mortgages and that's where you're going to make your money, you want to talk about that, but you're going to hate the guy that only messages you when he needs something for business. And if you're the guy that only posts about mortgages on social media, you're not going to get the engagement, the connection, and the relevancy that's crucial to a successful personal brand. So on the other side now, the broad content is all the things that you like. If it's family, if it's God, if it's sports, if it's cars, if it's traveling, whatever it is, you talk about that as well. If you like habits and rituals because you went to a Tony Robbins event and you learned some good shit, share that. Hey, I just went to Tony Robbins' event. I normally talk about mortgages, but I learned this thing and it was amazing. Hey, I was just reading this book this morning. I like to read books. It's been great. When I was a dipshit mortgage broker and got started and made no money, I didn't read books. Then I made millions in the mortgage space, started reading books. I'm reading this book right now. Let me tell you something I just learned in chapter 7. Share a little bit of everything going on in your life and in your business, and that's how you create a really strong personal connection and brand with people online. So that's really the first steps to creating a brand right there. And then you got to get people to see your shit, because you might have 5 followers on social media. 2 of them are your kids, 1 of them is your friend, and the other is your wife. And so how do you start to get people to see your content? Well, just like television and radio
are... Put on a
thong. Yeah, start bouncing that ass. So just like you can pay television and radio for ad placements, social media is also an ad placement platform. How do you think Zuckerberg's worth $50 billion in his 30s? Facebook's an ad platform. Yes, 2.7 billion people use social media. Guess what? 2.7 billion people use social media to consume content. So just like you and I understand, if there's an opportunity, supply and demand, there is a ridiculous amount of demand for people wanting to consume content. The average person goes on Facebook 12 times a day and spends 45 minutes total on there. And there's over 2 billion people on Facebook. So Facebook's one platform, Instagram's another, YouTube's another great one. And I can go deep down the rabbit hole, but I'll keep it surface level. You can use these platforms. You can have 0 followers. You can create content both niche and broad to create the relevancy and the context and the connection with your audience over time. You don't fall in love. You don't have your best friend happen instantly usually. It's usually over time. So a great personal brand's impact, income, and influence is built and developed over time. So know that this is the long game. Don't even fucking start if you're going to give up in 30 days. Do it for 3 years. Send me a message and say, thank you, changed my family's life and our financial situation forever. If you do this for years. Look, the time's going to go by anyways. You're either going to stay in the same spot as a average income or medium income mortgage broker or whatever position you want, or you can be the #1 guy in your region in the next couple years by doing this. Most people won't do it. That's what gives you the biggest competitive advantage. Most people won't do it at all, and if they do, they're going to give up. And so just by doing this for a few years, you're going to win. How do I know? Well, we have thousands of people in our community, and our community's done $300 million. And I share that with you because if you just do this for a long period of time, just a couple years, you will have gained so much credibility to either a small pond or a big pond. He and I are going after millions of people online, but when somebody tells me, oh, I only have an audience of 10,000 I'm going after. I only want
local realtor.
Yeah, local realtor. I'm like, God, I'm so jealous because it's so easy.
I have a client named Adam Stark, and he's been a client for about 5 years. Jefferson City, Missouri. Small town, 26,000 people.
He can be the guy.
He took it over with Facebook ads. When everybody else was sleeping, dude, he runs that, so he cannot go anywhere without people knowing who he is because of building a brand.
And that's what I say is you can become the famous person in your town or your city.
Easily. It's easier if you live in a small area. It really is.
He's over here Googling shit.
I am. I've got some details for you. Look here. So what would you say the biggest brand, the most well-known brand in the world is?
Business or person?
Business.
The most well-known, the Fortune, if I was going to base it by the Fortunes, the Fortune 1 is Walmart. So that's definitely a well-known brand.
Absolutely.
Then I would say McDonald's is another really well-known brand. Right. Coca-Cola is another really well-known brand.
That would be #1.
#1, Coca-Cola.
Okay. So the most well-known
and they spend
brand,
like $300 million on
a day, probably.
being well-known.
So and so they're the most well-known brand in the world. Everybody knows what Coke is, right?
Yep.
How many bottles do you think they sold their first year?
Oh, I mean, a couple hundred, maybe a few thousand.
We're gonna let you guess again. Go lower. Lower than a couple hundred.
Wow. I mean, I could go and sell a couple hundred.
Right? Remember back then we didn't have the internet. You know,
true. But even if I just went door to door and was just like...
Somebody had to be door to door and be like, take a drink of this. Like, I don't know, you fucking weirdo.
It's easy. You go and you get some attractive people to follow you around.
That's right,
and give them the bottles.
Thongs are always the answer, man.
Even back in whenever Coca-Cola got started.
1886.
Wow.
They sold 25 bottles of Coke.
Wow.
And
that was back when it actually had Coke in it.
When it actually had cocaine in it, I believe, right? They might have had.
I think that's what it was.
That might be why they sold 26.
It was killing people.
They sold it all to the same dude over a three night period. Dan Bilzerian style. So, all right, back to the focus here. The reason why I share that is that's the biggest brand in the globe is the most well-known brand in the world is Coca-Cola. They didn't just like show up overnight and become that. It's like he said, you do this stuff for years, your family will thank you. Mr. Pemberton that started Coca-Cola, I'm sure his descendants are very fucking well off, right? Because they invested in building a brand time over time by staying consistent. So it's just something to think about.
And the crazy thing is it's not even good for you.
25 bottles of Coke this year. Well, so did they in the beginning. Right?
Yeah.
So whatever it is, you're probably going to sell, like you said, I'd do 200, you know?
Yeah. The crazy thing is like, I always like to ask this question.
200 peeping out the window because you're high on cocaine.
This is true. I think I asked this at the event when I spoke at your event, and I love to ask the audience, raise your hand if you have a product that's good for people. Does your product help people? Is your product actually serving the customer? Does Coca-Cola? It's a fucking can of like 50 grams of sugar.
It's a toxin in a can.
They can't. I know they brand it as rum and Coke. That's delicious. I know.
Delicious by itself.
I know they say open a bottle of happiness because that's branding. They're trying to brand that and condition you. But let's be honest, guys. 50 grams of sugar, and then the real smart one was they put your fucking name on the bottle. So then you're searching for the bottle with your name on it. Like, great branding, but the product's not even good. So it just shows you that if you build a brand, your product doesn't even have to be good. And if you already acknowledged earlier and said, my product actually serves people, it actually helps people, then when you put the right branding and marketing behind that, you're gonna just catapult to a new level. But you have to look at this as a long game. 1886, Coca-Cola started. They sold 25 bottles their first year. Obviously,
I feel like you're gonna put that in a webinar somewhere. I feel like you're gonna.
We already have the Coca.
Upcoming webinar is gonna have the Coca-Cola.
We have Coca-Cola in our webinar already in our presentation. Just as an example, when I talk about branding and I say, what's the first soda brand that comes to mind? Everybody shouts Coca-Cola. And then I go to the slide and it's Coca-Cola. And I'm like, who's the biggest cheeseburger company? And everybody says McDonald's. And I go to the slide and it's McDonald's. And I go, is that a fucking coincidence?
Right.
It doesn't matter what country, what amount of people are in the audience, everybody goes Coca-Cola, McDonald's. And I go to the slide and I'm like, I just read your mind. Or they spent billions of dollars, so we all think that. What if you could just get the 10,000 people in your community, when they think mortgage, they think you. And it's never gonna happen from your fucking bandit sign. It's never gonna happen from cold calling or any of the other, still working, but a little outdated, ways.
Yeah, they're not power moves.
And that's not branding.
Yeah.
That's just not branding. There's some much easier things that you can do. And we were talking about some of the basics, and then it goes deep from there. But the basics, like anything, I think it was John Wooden, the famous basketball coach, said, I don't care how much of a hot shot you are. I don't care if you can double dribble under your fucking legs and do a back slam dunk. I'm going to make you stand at the free throw line and shoot 1,000 free throws. Because the best people in the world, the champions, master the basics. And so what I already shared with you, what's the perception you want to control? How are you going to show up in the marketplace? And what are you going to be known for? And then you create the T-graph, niche content, broad content, and you map it out and you create little short form pieces of content that are 30 seconds, 60 seconds, maybe a couple minutes long. Facebook and Instagram are short form, YouTube's longer form. And from there, you build a brand over time. It's not really like rocket science. Now, learning some of the more intricate stuff, I was showing him my campaign and he's like,
dude, he's a details guy. I promise you that.
He was like, damn, you got the infograph on everything in the whole campaign.
Here's how you know a good salesperson, right? Their ability to handle objections. Here's how you know a good marketer. Their ability to proactively handle objections with technology. That's like what I call the machine. You've got something that answers the follow-up questions. It answers the value that they need. It's like all of that process that we have done over the years via in person or on the phone can mostly be done technology-wise, but it takes a detailed person to think of what a typical sales process looks like and then artificially duplicate it, right? And Mark here's done a great job, that very detailed person. Matter of fact, that's why we were doing this live streams. I wanted to, obviously the guy knows his shit. You can tell by listening to him. You can tell he's very passionate about it as well. So
I've seen so many people's lives change. My life's changed, just as yours has. That's why you're so passionate about sales. Yeah. Sales saved your life and changed your life and your family's.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure it has for many of you. Sales has probably changed your life, saved your life.
It's always fucking there for us.
It's always there. Sure. No matter what happens, you can sell some shit. And you and your family are going to be good. And that's how I feel. I mean, I'm from the sales space too. I'm sales till I die, baby. But like, learning how to use the internet and social media is like the modern day gold rush. Sales is always going to be there. It always has been, right? But social media and the online internet world, this is new. Yep. Sales was there in 1886. 1886, you could sell some Coke. But like, now in 2019, we have technology that never existed. Right. And as a salesperson, for whatever you're doing, you want to make more money, you want to sell people a good service because it makes a difference in their life, and then you get paid, and all of those things, learning how to build a personal brand and use social media. I only say build a personal brand because it's the only way to make social media work most effectively for you. Most people, I don't know about you, maybe it's just me, but most people never pull out a credit card and go, I'm going on Facebook. You want something?
Right.
So most people aren't going on social media to buy shit.
Yeah.
So when you're like, wait a minute, Mark.
That's new age door knocking.
It
They're
is.
just cooking dinner,
That's it.
minding their business. Yeah.
And it's annoying. And people can look through their peephole, metaphorically, and be like, nope. And I got cameras all around my house, so when somebody shows up at our door, we look and we go, I ain't fucking answering. I could see you go at my door. I ain't gonna open it. That's social media. I see the ad and I go, I don't want an ad. I'm on Facebook for content, not ads. Now, I'm not saying ads don't work. Ads work great to people who've been consuming your content.
Yeah.
So if people have been consuming your broad content and your niche content over months and years, those are the only people I run my ads to for the most part.
Advertise to them.
They've been seeing my content. I know based on the way the technology works, and I'm not tech savvy. I'm far from it. I still don't even know how all this tech stuff that we got going on in here.
I seen this shit back there.
I don't know how the tech stuff works, right? It's like, and the good thing is you don't have to. What I'm telling you is if you put out the content, you build the brand, you can get other people to put the technology in place for you. And so, yes, advertising can work. That's one way to make money and capitalize on this trend of the internet and social media running ads. But most of us probably don't like seeing ads on social media. Very rarely, if at all, do we ever buy off of those ads on social media. And if we do, it's usually because that motherfucker's ads have been there for so long, they break you down and you're like, okay, this guy's either a gangster advertiser, like our boy Billy Jean. He just runs so many ads, but they're
$20 too.
That everyone owes this guy $20. By the time I think I'm done here, I'm gonna owe him $20.
It's coming. It's coming. So here's what I want you to think about real quick. You said that, Mark. It's just like this instant light bulb went off. I've never bought anything from Facebook.
I haven't either.
However, I've bought a lot of shit from people on Facebook. The guy that does my mortgage, Facebook. Right? The guy that does my taxes, Facebook. The guy that does shit, pretty much everything. I bought my cars, Facebook. The realtor I used to buy my house, Facebook, right? So, like, I use those people, but I didn't click a link and buy anything. What happens, like, let's say that I see Mark's advertisement on newsfeed. Now, tell me if you're like this. Just think about this for a second, because if you're like this and I'm like this, then probably a lot of folks are like this, right? So I see an advertisement for Mark's stuff in my newsfeed, and I'm like, dude, that guy knows his stuff, man. You know, it's what he's saying, dude, is reaching to me. I need to work on my brand. I'm probably not going to click his link and buy from him directly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to follow his page, right?
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to track him down on his personal profile and follow him there to see if there's a different content that I'm going to consume.
Keep that flow going. One interjection. People go to your social media to see if you're legit.
Yeah,
if you're
absolutely.
legit.
Absolutely.
And most people are just gambling. They don't have any structure.
Yeah,
they don't have
any
control
intention.
over the perception. They don't know what they stand for, and they don't have any content that represents how they're showing up. Back to those 3 basic blocks. So when someone does do that, you better have your shit in place.
Yeah, exactly. And so I follow Mark. He's got his shit in place. So obviously he teaches branding, so it'd be fucked up if he didn't have his shit in place, right?
That's why he was like, damn, your stuff's good. And I was like, well.
Everything is congruent, right? And so then Mark starts making these posts and stuff, and I start seeing them from his personal page and his business page. And over the course of, and honestly for me, and you're probably the same way, because we're a lot alike, that's why you're attracted here on this page and we hang out on a regular basis, is it might be 3 months before I buy your, $500 to $5,000 widget that you're selling.
At least 3 months.
It might be.
Most of my customers will buy 6 months to 12 months. I mean, we make, as you know, it's all relative, but like we did $720,000 last month.
They've been doing it.
And I'm in my 20s still. I got one more year. I'm 29. One more year I can say that.
I thought you were at least 40. You don't look a day under 38.
So we're doing pretty well. And it's like what you said though, like, oh, I bought in 3 months. Well, I've been doing this now for 5.5 years.
That's
so most of the money, if you look at our first year, it was like Coca-Cola's first year. It was like shit. And then all of a sudden, in the last year or two, like a hockey stick, boom. Because the brand, after half a decade, all of a sudden, all the millions of people who've seen my shit, thousands of them are finally like, He's still here. He's still here.
He's still here.
I'm ready now.
Because so many people do flare up, disappear. Think about this. How many times you know somebody that's like went to this multi-level marketing company?
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
we're gonna all fucking drive Bugattis tomorrow, bro. We're gonna go out and dominate.
Yeah.
Get 2 people. You know 2 people. I know 2 people. We're fucking rich.
Yeah.
Man. Right? And then 2 weeks later, it's like, hey man, how's that multi-level marketing shit? Oh man, you know I'm back.
I work at Costco.
I'm back at Costco, man. You know they offer me benefits and
Yeah.
shit. You know they got 302.
They're doing the Walmart brown bags,
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Get discount on my food. So here's what we got coming for you. We are going to do a training here in a few days. And shit's just a couple weeks around the corner.
Couple
right?
weeks.
End of the month.
Yeah,
And so make sure you turn on notifications for this page. If you're not a member of the Sales Talk with Sales Pros group, make sure that you're in there as well. Mark and I are going to be doing a live training. I mean, like he's a details guy. And I'm a very focused person, and I like details and stuff like that. But he's a details guy, and I've seen him do his presentation from the stage, and we were just looking at his pitch deck in here and all the stuff that he's got put together. Like, it's going to be something where you're going to, like, the funny thing about him, I'm just going to say this like the easiest way possible. The funny thing about him is he gives away so much shit for free that it almost guilts you into wanting to buy from him, right? So the reason why I say that is you show up on this webinar, even if you have no intention of buying whatsoever, you're going to get so much awesome laid out structural free content that it will be totally worth your time whether you decide to buy in.
Which is
whatever
exactly
it is that we decide to sell you. We haven't decided that yet.
Which is exactly what you
something.
should be doing. You should be doing this. You should be serving your audience.
example.
You should be serving your audience with so much value that by the time, the longer they see you and follow you and learn from you, they have every question answered, every objection's been handled, all the social proof and credibility and authority and influence is there. It's just a matter of either when you make the offer or when they reach out to you.
Yep.
And then the fish just jump in the bucket. And so it's the same thing. When you show up, you'll be like, how is this free? It's way too much value. Like, this is just us bantering. And I saw some of the comments on the people were like, this is great, this is great. It's like, this one is like going to school for like an hour and a half. Boom, boom, boom. Just very methodical, very laid out. You're going to learn so much. And I mean, this is something that a lot of people say, and we've had hundreds of thousands of people see this. And we have different types of training. So I don't know if we're going to create a little special something for you guys. But a lot of our free trainings, people say, you could have charged.
Right.
And then that makes them.
I feel like you could have, you could have charged for the stuff you taught at M3. I mean, that's valuable.
That's what people say all the time. They go, yours was the only presentation that I had pages of notes.
Yeah.
Pages of notes. And so, and I'm sure some people, some people on here are like, shit, I got a couple of notes taken already.
I had notes from your presentation before, and you said some good shit today. It's clear that Mark knows his stuff. It's like, absolutely.
It's all that I do. And we've helped people in over 100 different industries and niches and verticals. And our community of thousands of clients have generated over $300 million. So the stuff works. And I love having different industries and niches come in saying, does it work for this? Because I've done it in over 100 now. I mean, we got people that own farms, people that sell mud to oil companies. Shoot the mud down and it separates the oil without mixing it in. I mean, we got the weirdest people in our industry, in our community. And I mean, yours sounds pretty simple, like mortgage, real estate, sales, all of it's just sales.
Separation.
You know?
I am your mud separation expert.
He could sell mud. He could sell mud.
Mudseparation.com could be, it could go either way.
It could go either way. That could be a few things.
Anytime you throw in mud, and it could go either way. So
we got some good stuff cooking up, though.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I'm glad that you're here. Appreciate you hanging out with
Same.
the folks and sharing some of that. You guys make sure you turn notifications on for the page. If you didn't, if you're just now catching the end of this and you're going to watch the whole thing, just save this video so you can come back to and watch it again. If you dig it, make sure you share it with somebody else who'll dig it as well. Help us spread the word. Catch you next time.
See you guys.